Social stratification is a concept involving the classification of people into groups based on the shared socioeconomic conditions, a relation set of inequalities with economic, social, political, and ideological dimensions. People's life experiences and opportunities depend on their social category. This characteristic can be changed by the amount of work a person can put into their interests.
When we all discussed where we went to high school, we found major inequalities of opportunity from public to private schools that affected our education and what schools we chose to further our education at post-high school.
Okay, I went to Brantley and it had a really good reputation to be a great school, but we got out of city kids from Sanford, and that brought our school down, and we used to be an A and then we dropped to a C. I think it has a lot to do with unequal learning because they weren't as focused as probably the kids that came from Brantley. I took all standard classes when I was in high school because I never really wanted to go above. And I took one AP math class, and the way the teachers treated me was completely different in standard class than AP classes. The standard teachers would definitely just try and treat you like you didn't care, they just assumed that you didn't care. And then in my AP class, they just were very passionate about what they were teaching and took way more time with the students compared to my other classes. I think when you look at a school overall and you have that reputation of it being some amazing school, it still has unequal learning regardless because not everybody is on the same page.
I went to the private school Highland, and I didn't feel like there was unequal learning because you had to get into the school, you had to pass an exam. So when you get in the classroom, you're actually all on the same learning scale. Whether it was honors or standard or AP, the teachers were all very passionate about what they were talking about. So I didn't feel like the treatment was any different depending on what class we went into. I also thought that the placement testing helped because you're less frustrated in class because there's not a certain student who's not on the same page and not understanding the material we're going over. So it helps move it along and it helps our learning potential grow rather than take it down.
I went to Winter Springs High School and we did not have uniforms because it's a public school, and that created a lot of inequalities amongst the students and cliques and even teachers and students. There was more anxiety for what you have to wear. There was a lot of pressure. You can't wear the same thing every day, so you have to buy a lot more clothes. You end up being late to school more because you're picking out your outfit. I would say there was more bullying because people made fun of what other people in different cliques didn't wear the same clothes. They would make fun of them. There was probably more suspensions and referrals due to dress code, which was, it started out my freshman year, it had to be 3 fingers, and then for tank tops, and then your shorts just had to go to I think your knuckles or something. And then they changed it to you had to have a collar or sleeves, and your jeans couldn't have any holes. It was a lot more strict, and so people did get a lot more referrals for that, and then that probably also caused people not wanting to go to school as often because it was more confined. Dress code, if you're out of dress code, takes away from learning and can be less safe because some clothes have unsafe things. People steal clothes when you're wearing nice ones or make fun of you. But also, uniforms can take away from your identity as a person, which you're just starting to discover in years like high school, middle school. So having uniforms takes away from that. But I think overall, for an education aspect, uniforms would help.
Since I went to private school, we were required to wear uniforms, and I actually liked uniforms because I'm the type of person who likes to crawl out of bed 10 minutes before I have to leave, and being able to just throw on something that you're required to wear, it requires no thought, makes it very easy and very fast to leave the house and get to school on time. Also, I think that uniforms helped less bullying and gossip about one another. I actually don't remember a bullying experience in high school over fashion or clothes or whatnot, and gossip was to a minimal, especially about clothes. And there really wasn't anything to make fun of people about what they're wearing because you all look the same. So if you're making fun of someone for what they're wearing, you're making fun of yourself. I also think that uniforms implement structure, and it can help understand more of what you're supposed to dress like in the working world and how they have dress codes and you need to look nice, shirt tucked in and whatnot. Also, uniforms can help your education because the staff is focusing more on the education than what you're wearing and having to write referrals or suspending you. I mean, the most you'd get in trouble it would be is because your shirt wasn't tucked in all the way, and it's easy to say tuck your shirt in real quick than to write up a referral about what you're wearing. And if you have to be sent to the office or something because of what you're wearing, then that's taking away from your learning. Where if you're already in a uniform and look the same, then you're just going to sit in class and keep your learning going.
During my public school experience at Lake Brantley, I feel like I didn't really get my full potential of learning because of the stress of FCAT they put on us. It seemed like all the stress they put on us was focused on the FCAT and passing the FCAT rather than SATs. SATs are important to get to college, and FCAT really has nothing to do with college. I ended up getting low FCAT scores on my reading, and it ended up putting me in an intensive class. The intensive class was really easy for me. It seemed like I wasn't really getting pushed to reach my full potential. All the teacher really gave us were like picture books to read, really easy assignments. I ended up getting 100 in the class, which didn't really do anything for me. I feel like I could have learned a lot more to reach my full potential.
Also, when I was in the third grade, I had to take a placement test. I forget exactly what like standardized name it had, but after I actually just didn't answer any questions. I just doodled on it the entire time, and they stuck me in an SLD class. They also took me to the doctor and said I had like ADD, so they pumped me with Concerta for like 8 years after that. But really, I just didn't answer any of the questions. And so for English, during all of elementary and middle school, I would go to a special English class to learn basically like nothing. Actually, I learned more like at my house just reading books than I did at school ever, until like at least high school. And not even until like my senior year did they ask me if I wanted to go out of the program or did they test me again, even though on all my FCATs I never got below a 4. I got mostly 5s, and the entire time it was just I basically wasted like a lot of my time. I could be like doing advanced classes or other things because they just didn't really like do a thorough job with the testing.
At my private school, we didn't have the FCATs, which I really liked because we didn't have that stress on us about we have to pass the FCAT for the various reasons why they do have FCATs, such as the money and what the teachers get paid or whatnot. Because we're a nonprofit school, the government doesn't help us, then our test scores on the FCAT really doesn't matter. Instead of focusing on the FCATs, we focus more on the SATs. And not in the same way that public schools focus on FCAT by drilling it into you. They would implement it into our tests and whatnot. For an example, on my English test for the vocabulary, they would set it up like they do have it on the the SATs, and this was even before high school they were doing that. 6th, 7th grade, we were practicing for the SATs, which is great because FCAT scores don't really matter for anything. SAT scores matter for the colleges you want to get into. So it was really nice to know that they had our best interests in mind for where we can take our college career. And also I liked the fact that we don't have FCATs because we're able to get a more well-rounded education, meaning that instead of focusing on the information that's only on FCATs, the teachers can talk about whatever subjects they want to, depending on the class you're in, without having to focus on the questions on the FCAT. Also, since private schools focus more on SAT scores, it is a proven fact that students from private schools get higher SAT scores than students from public schools. Not saying that we're smarter than them, just saying that we've had the practice of taking the SAT scores, so SAT tests, so we know what to expect when we have to take the real test.
There's also a lot of inequalities in all schools based on whether you play sports or not. When I was in high school, I played varsity lacrosse my senior year, and my math teacher would let me get away with a lot of cheating. I got caught with it probably like 4 or 5 times, and they never said anything. And I was kind of a clown in high school too, so on a dare, I actually went up and just kissed my math teacher. And her face got red as tomato, but she did not write me up, not a referral. She just told me to go sit down, and actually she just didn't even talk to me the rest of the period. But I never at all got like disciplined for it. It also like goes in up to colleges too. Some schools have been fined for letting football players pass tests or get extra time or help with their exams, just so they can like keep the GPA to keep playing sports. So there's that too.
At private schools, sports were a really big deal, but the players never really got any special treatment. I played varsity volleyball my whole high school career, and unless we had to leave for a game early, that was basically the only treatment we got. And the only reason why we got to leave early was because we had to be at the game. But if we missed anything in class, we were expected to get the notes from someone, to know all the material and whatnot. The fact that we played a sport and might be out late practicing or the game went late had no effect on our grades or letting us slide with anything. Even the football players, the cheerleaders, were all had the same expectation of keeping up with their schoolwork, and no teachers were gonna give them a pass on something just because they played a particular sport. Education was more priority than the sports. I feel like going to a private school, I had really high expectations put on me. Growing up, I never knew that you had a choice to go to college or not. It was always, you're going to college, you're going to college. And when someone finally told me that you had a choice if you wanted to go or not, I was shocked, because my parents and the school have always told me that I'm going to college. Private school basically prepares you for college. It was not only a private school, it was a college prep school. And therefore you're expected to get into the best colleges, the Ivy League ones, the big state schools, and if you don't, then they might think that you wasted your time going to college prep school, even though I don't feel like I did, because the knowledge that I gained from that really helped me prepare for any type of college, and I feel like I'm thriving with all the information that I got, even though it's not considered an Ivy League school or a state school like UF or FSU.
We all went to public school all 4 years, and I think we were all still expected to go to college, but choosing SEC gives us more, people have different expectations of what that means, and I find that automatically you have to give someone a reason for going to Seminole State or like a community college for 2 years, like either whether it's for money or any other reason. People expect you to have a reason. Like it's not good enough to go here.
Yeah, like when people ask me, they say, you go to, or where do you go to college? I'm like SSC, but I'm doing Direct Connect. Like, so I'm going to UCF, or like, I intend to go somewhere better, because I feel like they look down upon us for just coming to SSC. But.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. You know, going to a public school, obviously you're expected to go to college, and when I say SSC, people usually will be like, think down upon me more, I think, just because I chose to go to SSC doesn't mean like I didn't have the opportunity to go to a better, like to a higher school. It just was my choice, so.
Yeah, I think there's like plenty of reasons why you choose a community college. Like, no two people are kind of, I mean, I'm sure people are the same, why they come here, like money or, but like, I just feel like you shouldn't be judged of why you chose like a
Yeah,
community
because
college.
nobody knows your
Yeah.
reason, like,
Yeah.
for coming
I just didn't
here.
want to move away from home or like drive an hour to UCF. Like, does that mean I'm like stupid?
Yeah.
I
I
wanted to
just,
save
I just
money.
couldn't afford it, really. I had to work, I'm not getting any loans, so I'm just working and paying
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
upfront, so.
And even if my parents can't afford it, but I chose because I wanted to save money. So when I do go to UCF, I have the extra money to pay for the classes when I go to UCF.
And it does prepare you, like UCF, you're automatically thrown into 300 kid classes, and this is a much more like intimate education. Each person has their own like points where they excel with different types of teaching, and so I think basically you just need to do what's right for you, and people often judge that in a negative way.
Yeah, I love the small class.
Yeah, I like it here, like it's not a
Yeah, I
bad
like the
place.
small classes
Yeah.
that we're in and have a lot more, you can ask a lot more questions
Mhm.
and,
So I think we're doing well.
yeah.
Some ways to equalize education is if schools remove FCAT, it'll definitely equalize education all throughout public and private schools. If we had better teachers, the kids would be a little bit more passionate about their education. Better placement tests would lead to better education for all students. If all schools offered the same curriculum, it would be equal learning throughout private and public schools.
We all come from different educational backgrounds, each having high expectations and opportunities. We all had different experiences with inequalities, from testing to uniforms, but we all ended up choosing the same college education.